and welcome to OnSide SA. Well, it's a break between the major leagues at the moment. We're still doing the American leagues, but Budge and Steve are going to tell you about something very interesting. Budge.
Top World Cup, Paul, 32 teams, 8 groups of 4. And winners goes through and they keep playing till I think it's first week in July. So it's on for a month, I think, the competition.
So the teams have to keep going.
They keep going. That's the hard part,
Is
Paul.
there big money involved?
Yeah, apparently it's 100 million, someone said, to win it. I'm sure maybe Steve can verify that. But now they've had to put big money in it, Paul, to get all the players in there.
Interesting. Now, we will ask Steve in a moment of how they picked which clubs from which countries, because I'm a little surprised about the UK selection. But let's talk about things that have come up in the latest news, basically, Budge. And Florian Wirtz, tell me about him.
Steve, good morning. You'll know more than I do. I heard it was 120 million plus add-ons and...
Well, yeah, it seems to be progressing. The deal isn't over the line yet, and if it does happen, it will be a British record transfer fee, more than Chelsea paid Brighton for Caicedo. So, they're holding out for a transfer of close to about £125 million by Leverkusen. It's really will break the bank for Liverpool, and I think it will show some intent on their part that they are prepared to just sit on their laurels of what they did last year, but to bring in the best talent in that's around.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the best talent around, but when you think they paid 85 million for Nunes, they're paying like another 40 million for this guy. Steve, I've got my doubts. I've watched him a few times. And also, I just think the money that he was on, Man City reportedly pulled out because his demands were too high. Wow. So if Man City pulled out, Liverpool start paying him, because his wages will obviously come up shortly. I think that's going to upset the apple cart. I know Liverpool fans will say, let's get him in there. But there's several of their key players. Well, I think the 3 main players being Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah, they're aging, and if something goes wrong with those 3, I think Liverpool are going to be in trouble. Maybe Wirtz is a replacement for Salah. That's why they could be emptying the satchel for him. But I don't know, Steve. Have you watched him?
Steve, what do you think of him?
Look, I've seen him obviously playing, not live, but obviously we're watching sort of Leverkusen, and he is a talent, there's no question, but it's a lot of money for a 22, 23-year-old. So, and I guess that's why they're prepared to pay that sort of money, is that they feel that they can get quite a few years out of him, and with a resale value. But it is a bit of a gap. It's a big chunk of, I'm sure, they didn't spend much last year, so obviously FFP-wise, they're probably in a very good place, but this is going to be a big chunk of their transfer budget. There's no question they will look to offload 1 or 2 to recoup some. There's talk about Nunes going and 1 or 2 others. But it is a statement of intent. They brought in Frimpong. They're linked with Kirkes on the left side. So they're looking to bring in young players, and I think that's if they look at the Chelsea model, which is virtually almost everybody under 25, that's what they're concentrating on.
Yeah, for me, there's only one model, by quality.
But who was the player that Liverpool bought a few years back? A short little Spanish guy, passed the ball well. They paid a lot of money for him. He never fired at all.
Not Thiago.
Might be Thiago,
He was a class player. He was injured all the time.
Injured all the time, yeah.
That's my only thing, Steve. Where do you think he's going to play? Because he's not a number 9. I've watched him play most games for Germany. He drifts in.
No, he's attacking midfield. So he's definitely not a number 9.
Yeah. So I've watched his last couple of games for Germany. He seems to drift. He's all over the place, and he gets up and down. Yeah. But anyway, let's have a look at slot. I think Liverpool need an out-and-out number 9. I don't think they've got plenty of wide players. He's not replacing Salah on the right. They've got Diaz and Gakpo on the left. Yeah. So it'll be interesting, but it's a lot of money, and if he's on bigger wages than Van Dijk and Salah, I think the trouble could set in, especially for future buys. Because if he's worth, that's what happened to United. If he's worth 400, I'm worth at least 250. Yeah. Meanwhile, most of them are on 100, 120, and that's a problem with a signing. But he is a decent player. Steve, I can't believe Crystal Palace, they've got a problem with the Europa League. Is that to do with the ownership?
Well, it is, and it looks like it might be resolved. So the issue has been that John Textor who, through other holdings, is a shareholder in both Crystal Palace and Lyon, who are both in the Europa League. And UEFA rules say that you can't have two teams in the same competition that are under the same ownership.
Okay.
Now, what they're saying is, and what he's saying, and Palace are saying, which they hope to be able to prove or in the next day or two, is that he doesn't have any form of control or influence over Crystal Palace. And as such, then Palace wouldn't fall foul of these rules. It's interesting that Nottingham Forest chairman has made representations to UEFA to say that Forest should be in the Europa League and Palace should be kicked out. So he's a bit of a Marmite character, Marinakis. I don't think that when Forest pay Palace, the directors in the boardroom will be too pleased with each other. But it does seem, from what I read this morning, is that Palace feel that they should be okay. Otherwise, you get a situation where Palace win the FA Cup and are not able to play in Europe. So you'd have Forest in the Europa League and Brighton in the Conference. Okay. So I think it will get resolved, and it sounds as if. And he's trying to sell his shares in the holding that owns part of Crystal Palace, Texter. So it would be a shame for Palace because they
deservedly won.
They finished strong. They deserved it. They deserved their place. So we'll see what happens. But I think Palace should be okay.
Okay. And last but not least, to dare is to do, Paul. The man dared, and he did, and he got fired.
Or dare est facere.
Yeah.
To dare is to do in Latin. Yeah. He dared, he did, he proved himself, he did everything right. And Levy said it's more important to run in the first 5 or 6 in the league than win a trophy. He's proved it. Money mad. There are some fans who say the facts are there, 22 league defeats, he should be fired. But the facts are also that he won them a trophy, that he promised he'd win them. And they haven't had it for 17 years. No one else has been able to do it. There's no real big manager lined up. I know they're looking at Frank, but there's no one who's got a track record. They've tried people with track records. Yeah. It was a complete mistake. After that night in Bilbao, I cannot believe that Levy made it 16 days later. Him and the board made that call. People are up in arms about it. It'll go. Time will erase it. The new manager will have to come in, and good luck to him. We'll have to support him. But it just shows that Levy is just not my man.
Yeah, he's not a winner.
No.
He's a money man. And that's my problem. Steve, what are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, look, I think Paul, I think, hit the nail on the head. And if you talk to any Tottenham fan, they'll probably say that that's the greatest day as a Tottenham fan in a generation. They might have won the league for 17 years, but this was a bigger trophy. So you have to go back to the FA Cup in 1991, or even the UEFA Cup in '84. For the last time they won a major trophy. And I think, judging by the hundreds of thousands that turned up in and around Tottenham for the parade, I think that shows what the fans actually thought. Fans want to win a trophy. Finishing 100%. Fourth in the Champions League really doesn't mean anything to the fans in the as a comparison. So I do feel for him. I guess they must have pretty much made their mind up that he was going to go, whatever happened. But I think the fact that he won the trophy, I think, became more of a dilemma for them, because had Tottenham have lost or gone out a little bit earlier in the competition, they'd have had no qualms about sacking him. Yeah. But in the end, he delivered. He said he would. I know the people laughed at him. And when it got down to those last few weeks, he made the call, resting top players to save them for the final, and it worked. So I think he goes with his head held high. Yeah. But if you look at the league form, it was shocking. You can't make excuses for that. They had injuries, but ultimately other teams have as well. But it really was a poor sort of last season in the league. And I guess that's what, as you say, Daniel Levy and the board are thinking of. But you've got to feel for him, and I say, hopefully he'll get himself another good job somewhere, whether it's in the UK or not. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Spurs are in trouble this season. I think the league's turn. Everyone loved Big Ange. Obviously I was there in Preston losing it when United lost it. United fans obviously disappointed, but if there's one team they were happy for, was Spurs. Yeah. And that was a good feel factor. Everyone was happy for Spurs and Big Ange. I'm loving Big Ange instead.
When they were making statements that he's one-dimensional. He played a second half defensively.
Yeah.
He wanted to win that trophy. He showed he could play. And bear in mind, his 3 best midfielders weren't there. Kulusevski, Madison, and who was the other one?
The youngster.
Yes, Bergvall.
Now, I got a question about that, Paul.
Yeah.
He's tactically not good enough. The champions before last season were Man City.
Yes.
Spurs went to Man City during the season. What was the score?
I don't know which
Spurs
game.
beat them 4-0. Remember, you
Yes,
caught them on the break.
4-0.
You know, there's different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
I just think the players let him down. They weren't as good as they are, those young players.
Yeah.
And let's see next year. Thomas Franco, I've always admired. He looks a good guy. But it's one thing buying budget line players at Brentford to play in a team where you're not in Europe. He's never looked like winning a cup. He's going to a poison challenge. Now you're in the Champions League.
Dinkum poison
I
challenge.
think that is the wrong job for him to take at the moment, but he will take it like Graham Potter did at Chelsea. But well done for the Spurs fans winning the Europa League. I hope Daniel Levy gets it in the neck.
Yeah, me too.
And the fans are going to be looking for him. Anyway, on to the MLS, and the league's going, and I'm surprised that they didn't cancel because of the World Club. But anyway, we've got games on, it's Friday morning our time, Thursday night in America. Steve, New York City against Atlanta. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think New York City's certainly favourites. I mean, neither team are doing particularly well this season. Atlanta are closer to the bottom than New York City. But I think at home, New York City should be too strong. One of the issues is not just the Club World Cup, it's that the USA have been playing in friendlies. They're now playing in the CONCACAF Trophy. Yeah. And as a result of that, some of these MLS teams are losing or have lost a few of their best players. Yeah. But they're continuing sort of playing the season. They don't have the opportunity to sort of cancel it. So I think there could be some strange scores over the next few weeks while US are playing in the CONCACAF Trophy.
Yeah, talking the US, Pochettino, I think it's 4 smacks in a row. They got annihilated by Switzerland. They want him out, so maybe he'll sneak back into the Spurs reckoning. For me, Steve, I agree. New York City, but Atlanta have a 1-7 away from home. I was on them 2 weeks ago. They were woeful. I think the only way to go here is goals. Over 2.5, both teams to score, yes, is 8.5 to 10, but 7 to 10, over 2.5 goals. That's my suggestion. Portland under Phil Neville, going well. Sneaked in last week. Phil Neville's still there. Steve, 8 to 10, worth a bet?
Yeah, I think fairly decent. Yeah, I think so. Portland having a reasonable season. Top 4, I think they should be too strong. They should win that.
Yeah, unbeaten in 7 at home. And also they do play on an artificial pitch, which is a major help, yeah? I know they threaten, well, not threatening, but they've told them you have to make them all turf for the World Cup. Yeah. Otherwise, but 8 to 10. San Jose score goals, though. That's the only thing. And Portland concede, but you got to fancy Portland. Steve, 2 of the worst teams in the MLS, St. Louis against the LA Galaxy. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of one from bottom against bottom in the Western Conference. Galaxy just having a shocking season. They did have a win recently, but I think St. Louis at home should be too strong. But say it's more about Galaxy. Just I don't think people can believe how poor a season they have, and they're something like 7 points adrift at the bottom. So they really want to start picking up some points soon.
Now, they have improved lately, and I think 5 to 2, the draw is definitely the right play there. Columbus, Vancouver, that was your best bet last week, Steve. They drifted to 5 to 2. I remember sending you that clip. They went to Mexico, and they all came back with food poisoning. They still won, though. I couldn't believe it. That's what put me off.
They did. They bounced back. Yeah, they bounced back with a good win last week and are clear at the top. So it's hard to bet against them. They're scoring goals, they're not conceding. Columbus are a decent side, but I think Vancouver, for me, I think those are decent odds.
Yeah, so did I. 27. Steve, I went the other way. I went Vancouver to win a draw and both teams to score at 18 to 10. Columbus always score. I know Vancouver. They are a decent side, but 27 to 10. Can't believe those odds. New England also playing an AstroTurf or artificial pitch at home against one of the better teams in the MLS, Cincinnati. Which way are you going, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati are having a very good season. they're sort of second to Philadelphia. And New York City, disappointing, but at home they're not the worst side. New England, I mean. I think certainly Cincinnati are favourites, but New England, they haven't lost many this year. They've played one or two less than some of the other teams, so this could be a bit closer. I think Cincinnati for me, but I think New England could hold them.
Yeah, I think another draw. You won't believe it. Yorkstown managed Cincinnati, and one of our mate Bugsy Saunders' kids he trained managed when they first got into the league. Always forget his name. Westville boy. He managed Cincinnati. Did a good job too. Yeah, I agree, Steve. I think the draw will be a tight game. New England don't get beat at home, but Cincinnati are one of the better teams. On to our second page of the MLS. And first game up, Philadelphia. Too good for Charlotte, Steve?
They should be. I mean, Philadelphia are top of the tree, scoring goals. Charlotte, not a bad side, but they sort of win one and lose one. They've only drawn one this season. Otherwise, it's 8 wins, 8 defeats. So for me, I think Philadelphia.
Yep, 17-10, Philadelphia to win by more than one goal. That's my suggestion. Steve, two inconsistent teams. Stone Cold Steve Austin, capital of Texas, against the New York Red Bulls, who have won their last 3, but away from home, their form's questionable. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Austin are not a bad side. Obviously, they had a good win a couple of weeks ago away, but you'd sort of think that the away side might get something here, but again, they could cancel each other out. I think it'd be a close game.
Yeah, I went for goals here. I went over 2.5 both teams to score. Always, when I have that bet, have a look, can the away side score? And the Red Bulls always score. So I think there'll be goals in this. It could go either way. You know, obviously the home side has the advantage, but definitely goals in that particular clash. Chicago, I went against them last week. They won 7-1. Our man OnSide Benteke never played. I thought he was going to play. Cost me 2 good bets too. Nashville on a bad side, Steve. This will be close. Which way are you going?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone sort of saw that result coming last week. Certainly by 7-1, they certainly score goals. You know, with Chicago, they're one of the top scorers. Yet they concede as well. So I think there'll definitely be goals. I think again another game that they could cancel each other out.
Yeah, there's plenty of goals. This could be over 3.5 at 14-10, 8-10 over 2.5. Definitely goals in that particular game that could go either way. Houston, the guy that was at Aston Villa, I think it's Dean Smith. He's in charge. I think it'll be too good for Montreal, Steve. Do you agree?
They should be. Montreal bottom of the Eastern Conference. I think Houston not having a great season, but they should be too strong.
Yeah, can't have Montreal. And Minnesota, they cost me money. I backed Seattle to beat them 2 weeks ago, and they went into Seattle, who are in the World Club Championship, and beat them. I think they'll beat San Diego too.
San Diego.
They could. I mean, look, this is a good game, and this is second against third.
Yeah.
So it is a good game. I think that Seattle have definitely been winding down in the last few weeks, obviously because they're in the World Club Championship. I think this will be a close game again. You know, I think Minnesota favourites at home, but I think it's going to be it should be a good game.
Yeah, San Diego have lost 4 of the last 5 away from home, so I'm siding with Minnesota. On to the final page in our MLS, and it's Sporting Kansas City at home against Dallas. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, well, both teams are having a relatively poor season. Sporting Kansas City placing a couple of points behind Dallas. You'd think it would favour the home team, but I don't think there'd be much in it. Yeah,
Dallas have only won 1 in the last 10, so I don't see them getting a result, but a draw in Sporting Kansas City for me. Steve, Colorado at home to Orlando City?
Yeah, I mean, neither team are having Orlando really sort of fallen off the pace a bit. They had a great start and they've stuttered recently. Colorado sort of sitting in the middle of the table, really not going anywhere. Again, I think Colorado should be favourites at home, but I don't think there'll be a lot in it either.
Yeah, I went the same, over 2.5 both teams to score. Yes, can't believe the increase in price for the extra goal. If you just want over 2.5 goal, it's 7-10. But another game that could go either way. Of the two sides, I like Colorado. Rocky Mountain High, isn't it? John Denver, and I fancy those of the two teams. And last but not least, Real Salt Lake 7-10 at home against OnSide Benteke's DC United.
Well, I wonder if that's more because of how how poor DC United were last week, because Real Salt Lake are really having a bad season themselves. I mean, they're only one off the bottom or two off the bottom in the Western Conference, but they've lost 10 this year. But then DC United, after that shock result really last week, struggling themselves. So I think it's again another one. Home team, I guess, will be favourites, but I don't think there'll be much in it.
What are the wages like for these players in this league?
I actually don't know, but there's a cap, there's a salary cap.
Because Messi obviously is different.
You find that like the big player, like the Messis of this world, are on huge sponsorship deals to go over there. So there's the big players that they've attracted. They're able to pay them quite a bit, but otherwise it's nowhere near compared to the sort of the big European teams, which is why a lot of the best players there obviously do find their way over to Europe.
Yeah. Steve, World Club kicks off on Sunday. I'll give you the outright betting. Real Madrid 7-2, Man City 9-2, 6-1 PSG, 7-1 Bayern Munich, 10-1 Chelsea, 12-1 Inter Milan, 14-1 Atletico Madrid, 25's Bar. That's Juventus, Dortmund, and Flamengo. There's 32 teams.
32, eh?
So that's the outright betting. Obviously, there's prices to get to the final and semi-final. But first game up, Al Ahly against the Lionel Messi's Inter Miami. We'll pull the odds up now. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's as you just read out basically the list of all the European teams that are taking part. It's hard to see anybody other than one of the big teams from Europe, and that's partly, as you mentioned earlier, for the winners. It's worth just a little shy of £100 million if they go through and win. So somebody like Real Madrid are taking it very seriously. They paid Liverpool quite a few £1 million to have him released in time to play in this, because they obviously feel that's an investment. Because if he helps them, Trent, to win it, then they're going to recoup a lot of money. So look, first game up, into Miami. Obviously there's a home team, as it were, playing in the competition in the US, struggling to sell tickets. And considering, this is, one of the two US teams in there, it doesn't bode well for the lot of the rest of the tournament. I think Miami will be favourites. But again, you're not sure until you see the first round of games. You're not sure how some of these teams are going to play. So, for me, I think Inter Miami should be strong favourites.
This tournament is I think there's 12 grounds in America, all over. So this game, I know they play in Fort Lauderdale, Inter Miami. But this game's at the Hard Rock Stadium in the Joe Robbie Stadium. 75,000, I think, stadium. It shouldn't be full because of Al Ahly, but Lionel Messi's playing. I just hope the tickets are reasonable. Steve, they've been sitting waiting this game for ages into Miami. I think into Miami, even money's a good bet. I'm going to look at the bookings as well. I haven't seen that. That market hasn't come out yet, because I think, with Suarez and then this could get physical. And I think everybody's going to be siding with Messi's team. So I think they'll get a result here. Even money.
It's been played at Fort Lauderdale?
No, that's the home ground. This game is in Miami. It's the Hard Rock Stadium.
Okay.
But I think it's called Miami Gardens. But that's where the Dolphins play. Second game, Bayern Munich 1-60 against Auckland. Can Auckland score, Steve? That's the question.
I'd be very surprised if they could score. I mean, we don't know anything about them, in all honesty. The level of the league, you can't compare it. It's probably like National League level. If Bayern Munich take it seriously, then they should be winning by several to nil.
Yeah. The thing is, how many, over 4.5 goals is 7-10. So that's I wonder what price a Harry Kane hat-trick. The only thing is, a lot of these Germans and the guys in their team have been playing for their country, so it's a quick flight across.
When do the countries play again?
Well, no, Nations League's over. England played the other night, Harry Kane. So they've got to fly, so you never know. Maybe jet lag could be the only help for Auckland City, but 1-60 won't have my money. The big game of the first round is Champions League winners PSG against Atletico Madrid. Steve, which way are you looking?
This is a proper game now. Obviously, PSG should be still on a high after winning the Champions League. But I don't think Atleti are going to make it easy for them. I think PSG will be favourites. but I think this could be a bit closer than the odds show. And this is a bit of a showdown in this particular group.
Yeah, for me, this whole competition revolves around, are PSG going to go for it or not? All their players have been playing for Portugal and Spain. They've won everything.
The money's good.
The money's good, so they'll go for that. I think, yeah, 6-1 PSG is the right play if they have a go. Yeah. Atletico Madrid are hot and cold. You just never know. Away from home. In Spain, they've been woeful, but they have good players. So we'll see. But I think PSG for me. Palmeiras, Porto, Steve. I'm all over the Brazilian teams in this competition anyway, but the first round especially. They've been sitting waiting for this competition for weeks. Porto, I think they finished third in Portugal. I fancy the Brazilian team. Which way are you going?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Brazilian teams, I mean, none of them featured, when you read out the list of betting, none of them featured high. Yeah. So Palmeiras, they've got a few decent sides there. Yeah. I think this would be a close game. This would be one of those games if you had to pick one to watch, one or two to watch. PSG at let's go Madrid. This could be a good game, and I think that it's hard to call between them. Again, we haven't seen enough of Palmeiras to know how they're going to do, but I think if they win this, then obviously they could progress.
Yeah, I looked at them too. I took 18 at 10 them to score over 1.5 goals. I think they're going to have to score at least 2 to beat Porto. But I think this will be a feisty occasion. We know Porto, they've got a lot of foreign players too. But I'm looking forward to this game. On to our second page, and we've got another Brazilian side, Botafogo. I know they've lost players. They lost their manager. But Seattle, the game is played in Seattle, so obviously it will favour them. But I think the Brazilians will be too good, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, you think so. If Botafogo, actually, my understanding is it's another club that John Textor has an interest in, but that obviously doesn't affect Crystal Palace situation. I think you're right. I think that you would generally favour one of the Brazilian sides against Seattle. But as you say, it's effectively a home game. They'll get a decent crowd for that because they do get good crowds in Seattle. So I think this could be quite an interesting game. I think you're right. Botafogo probably should start as early favourites, but I think it will be close.
Yeah, I think the Brazilian sides will be too good. The guy that played for Man United, Alex Telles, he's playing for Botafogo. I couldn't believe it. But they'll put up a fight, Seattle. But for me, it's got to be Botafogo. Chelsea, Los Angeles. Steve, I just don't trust Chelsea. I know they're going there. They won the Europa Conference. They've got a lot of players. I just don't know if this competition. They're playing in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's one of the grounds that's artificial. Now, I don't know if they've converted it into a grass, because if it's artificial, be careful. But Los Angeles, they're not having a good season.
No. I mean, they're not, by their own standards, Los Angeles not having a great season, but not as bad as Galaxy might. Look, Chelsea should start as favourites. I think they are taking this quite seriously. Again, probably because we know there's money involved. So it'll be an interesting test for them, but I expect Chelsea to come out on top.
Yeah, Boca Juniors against Benfica, Steve. How do you see it going?
Yeah, look, Benfica are going to be favourites, but Boca are, fans are fanatic. You expect there to be a lot of Argentinian fans in the stadium to watch this. If you expect Benfica to be favourites for this, I mean, they just missed out in both the league and the cup to Sporting, so they're probably hurting a bit. So I think they'll go there and get a result, Benfica, but it should be a feisty game as well.
Yeah, Boca weren't in the Copa Libertadores, which was strange. Now you won't believe this. Man United have got serious representation in this team. Andres Herrera, the Spaniard, don't ask me what he's doing there. Yeah. Edison Cavani. Yes. Marcus Rojo.
He's a striker.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He must be close on 40. Marcus Rojo, the left back.
Yes.
And Sergio Romero. Did he play for Spurs, the keeper? Who was Sergio? Was he at Man City, Sergio Romero? He's their goalkeeper. But they're not. Yeah, they're second in Argentinian league. I think that could be a smash too. You never know with these Portuguese sides. They could come over, either perform or struggle. But I think it's going to be a bit of a feisty game. Steve, Flamengo versus ES Tunisia. I think it's Esperance Tunisia. How do you see it going?
Flamengo, one of the better Brazilian sides, and you'd expect them to win this. I don't really know anything about their opposition, but the betting seems to think that Flamengo are going to be comfortable winners.
Certainty, Steve. They're going to have a good competition, Flamengo. They had 7 players in the recent Brazilian squad. They're top of the league, reportedly the best team, and I'm all on Flamengo all the way, Steve. They're 33-1 to win. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they'll get to the semis, and they'll give a couple of the European teams a game. On to our third page, and we've got Fluminense. Thiago Silva is involved with that team, the legendary Brazilian captain. But Dortmund, I think, are the dark horse in this competition, Steve. I think I know they may struggle first game up, but I fancy Dortmund here.
Has the Chelsea ball gone back?
I think Dortmund should be too strong. Just brought in Joby Bellingham, Jude's younger brother. Paid over 30 million for him. So they've still got Jamie Gittins, who Chelsea were trying to sign before the deadline ended, but he's going over to the competition. I suspect Chelsea, if he has a good competition, Chelsea will try again and pick him up after 1st of July. But I think Dortmund should win this. It'll be a reasonable game, but I think Dortmund should be too strong.
They still got that Julian Brandt. They've got the guy, United, in my opinion, you should never have got rid of, Sabitzer, that Austrian. I think he's a good, clever player. And then they've got that hotshot striker Guirassy, who's in the betting to be Golden Boot winner, which is strange. But they finished the season strong in Germany. They ended up finishing 4th. And they're a young team that run with their heads chopped off. So I think they'll have a good competition. Steve, River Plate versus Urawa Reds from Japan.
Reds, what a good team.
River Plate all day.
You'd think so. Again, obviously a strong Argentinian side. You'd expect them to be too strong.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they'll win easily, but you would expect them to be too strong.
Yeah, they had 6 players in the Argentinian squad of late, so I'd expect them to get through and also have a good competition. Mamelodi Sundowns, our boys from Pretoria, they're staying against Ulsan KD. I think they're South Korean team, or HD, should I say. What do you think?
Well, they're playing midnight.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one for you guys because I have no idea of how strong the Sundowners are. Obviously, representing South Africa, and the continent. So they're obviously a reasonable side, and it's an opportunity. They're not playing one of the big European teams first up, so it's an opportunity for them.
Yeah, I think we got a chance. I looked at the CAF, the Asian Champions League, and they lost 6 of their 7 games. Sundowns are a decent team. We can play. I just worry about scoring goals. And this manager, we've got, you just don't know, Steve. First game up, but our boys will have a go. I think there'll be goals in this.
They're a good side.
Yeah, they'll have it because both teams know this is the only game in the group that they've got a chance of winning. So you may as well have a go, seeing it's Dortmund and Fluminense, the other team. So I'll have an interest. 19-10, the Brazilians. I'll be on Sundowns. Monterrey versus Inter Milan. If ever there's a team I got my doubts on this competition, Steve, it's Inter Milan. I've seen what's happened with Italy. The players seem to have run out of legs. I think they're going to play mainly the youngsters.
They offered Ranieri the job.
Did they?
Yeah, Ranieri got offered the Italy job. He said no.
I don't blame him. Too old. Bad team. Steve, Monterrey, Mexican team. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're a decent lot. They're a decent Mexican side. You got Inter Milan, obviously smarting after that Champions League defeat. The manager's gone. It does make you wonder, psychologically how they're going to perform. Should be too strong. Again, you'd think on paper against Monterrey, but I think this could be a tight game, as you say. It depends. Some of that, unless it goes the other way, and the players who are determined to show that they're not as bad as that 5-0 defeat sort of pictured them. So I can't see Inter Milan doing particularly well in this tournament somehow, but they might be too strong for Monterrey.
Yeah, you just never know. That could be the upset of the first round. On to our final page in the World Club, and we've got Man City against Wydad Casablanca. Moroccan side. 1-10.
30-1.
30-1.
I mean, it's hard to bet against City. Again, with all these, they've all been playing around the world. They're not going to be necessarily at their freshest with all the travelling, but they should be too strong and they should win by a few. Whether or not they'll concede, that's going to be an interesting test for their defence, because that sort of let them down in last season. But Haaland's on fire, scoring goals in World Cup qualifiers. You'd expect them to win that comfortably.
Yeah. Man City to score 3 goals is 6-10, so that would be my suggestion there. Another team that I fancy to have a good competition, Real Madrid. Typical of them. I don't think they're good enough to win it. I just, maybe the climate will suit them with all their Brazilian players, but they should beat Al Hilal. But in saying that, this is the Saudi Arabian team. These are the players that's in their squad. Mitrovic, Ruben Neves, the Portuguese boy. Koulibaly that played against England the other day. Cancelo was at Man City, the Portuguese right back. Milenkovic-Savic, who was at Lazio, decent player. And then they had Lodi, the left back from Atletico Madrid. So they've got a decent squad, but just don't see them competing with Real Madrid, Steve, surely.
No, I think that's right. I mean, obviously, you read out sort of the names, but then that's it. That's it of their sort of known players, as it were. Yeah. And when they're playing games in heat, you think as well that they might have to sort of use some of their subs. So I think that Real Madrid should be too strong. I think they are taking this seriously, which is why they've obviously paid Liverpool money to bring Trent in early. Yeah. And I think that they will be too strong. But it will be interesting to see. Beating the Saudi Arabian League quite a bit in the last couple of years. Al Hilal are one of their best sides, so it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, Real Madrid to win and both teams to score 16-10. That Real Madrid back four, they think Trent's going to be a defensive plus for that. And even Hassan from Bournemouth. I watched him the other day. He's not bad for Spain, but he got exposed in the final, youngster. So they'll have a good competition. I don't see them win it. Pachuca versus Salzburg, two of the lesser lights in the competition, Steve. Decent game here. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, this should be a sort of closer game than some of the others involving European teams. Yeah. Salzburg, in all honesty, probably haven't really warranted, getting picked compared to a lot of the other European sides who weren't involved in the tournament. I think they're probably starters' favourites, but I think it'd be a close game.
Yeah, they finished third in the Austrian league, which doesn't bode well. But Pachuca are struggling. But we know these Mexican sides. The heat will suit them, and they'll come out firing. So
13 mariachi.
There'll be music. That's guaranteed. Yeah. Last but not least, Al Ain of the UAE against Juventus. Surely Juventus have got to get a result, Steve.
Certainly.
Yeah, you'd think so. You'd expect Juventus to be too strong. They slightly disappointing season for them in Serie A, but I think that they should win this one.
All right, Steve. Just going to run through the groups early with you. The Group A, they've got. Who do you think will win it? Porto, Palmeiras, or Inter Miami? Who you on?
That's an interesting one. I think Palmeiras. If they could shock Porto in that first game, they could win that group.
No doubt. PSG's group, PSG, Atletico, or Botafogo?
PSG.
I think PSG, but again, that's going to be that first game or could be the decider. I think PSG.
Yeah, 7-10. Group C, Bayern Munich or Benfica or Boca Juniors?
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, decent group, but I think Bayern Munich should be too strong.
Yep, should well be. Okay, here's the interesting group. Chelsea, Flamengo, Los Angeles.
I think Chelsea, but that's going to be a good game when they play Flamengo.
Yeah,
22-10 Flamengo, Steve. Get
Flamengo.
On. The next group, Inter Milan, or River Plate.
River Plate.
I think Inter Milan. I just think they might be smarting and determined to do to put up a better show than they did in the Champions League final.
No manager. I think they're in disarray. I don't know who's taking them over. River Plate for me. Dortmund, Fluminense.
I think Dortmund, but again, when they play each other, it'll be a decent game. But I think Dortmund should just edge that.
Dortmund, good things. Man City, Juventus.
Man City.
Yeah, it should be Man City.
And then obviously Real Madrid, Al Hilal.
To me, Real Madrid.
Steve, who do you think will win it? I know it's always who do you think will get to the final?
Depends on the draw. I mean, I think Real Madrid are certainly favourites.
Yeah.
I think City could if they don't play Madrid earlier, I think City could get there.
Yeah, I think Man City are the team to beat. But my Lurker team, I'm all on, Steve. Flamengo. I've had a look at the team. I've seen highlights of them. They've got some good players and they're fresh. And that's a lot of those players are looking for big moves.
Yeah. The thing is, for some of these players playing in this tournament for the Brazilian sides, it's like it's a bit of an audition because someone like if one or two of the Flamenco young stars do well, you're going to see the big European teams hovering come 1st of July, after 1st of July, to put bids in. And I think because however well they're doing over there, they get paid a pittance compared to what they can earn in Europe. Yeah. So for the teams like Flamengo and Palmeiras, I think they're probably they could win money at this competition, but then they could end up losing some of their best players. Yeah,
I think that's the whole thing. Try and sell them for 40-50 million and away you go. I think Man City are the team to beat, but Flamengo's my dark horse, Steve. 33-1. I backed them to get to the semis. I'm going to back them all the way through. Got to have an interest on it. Steve, pressure as always. I need your best bet and value bet.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from the. I don't know because you've got the MLS being played when you've got a lot of players not there, and the same with the World Club. You don't know the form. I'm going to go for Inter Miami. I think they're playing effectively at home. They're going to. There's a lot of. I think the FIFA are really banking on Inter Miami to do okay.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm just going to go Whitecaps. I think Vancouver. I think those are really big odds for the team that are flying at the top of the conference.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Vancouver Whitecaps.
Right. I went for Inter Miami as well. I just think the Messi, Suarez, Jordi Alba, Busquets, whole thing, they'll be sitting waiting for this Al Ahly team. And I'm on Palmeiras. I just think they're a decent team. We never know with the Portuguese. I think it'll be feisty. And 18-10, 5-1 the double. I think it's just worth an interest. Steve?
Thanks very much, Steve.
Thanks as always, and we won't talk about the cricket, but enjoy it, yeah?
Yeah. Cheers.
All right, Steve.
Cheers. Bye, guys.
Rough bunch, get those bets out.
Yeah, let's get Soccer 6 or Saturday Exotics on the screen and kick off as always with Soccer 6. And the first game up is interesting. Cape Town City, Kazrick Stars. The game's been delayed a week, so you can put whatever you want on there. So it's been delayed till the 30th of June. I think it was a court case involving Cape Town City, and so you can put anything. The guys jumped the ship putting this fixture. Onto Sweden, I'm going Falkenberg win and draw against Helsingborg. I'm bankering Kalmar to be too good for Landskrona. The field in the Östersunds, RK Odderfalt and Umeå GIF Sundsvall game, and I'm going KUPS in the Finnish League. Win or draw against Tampereen Eels, 216. On to our second Soccer 6 was the American one. I'm siding with LA Galaxy to avoid defeat in St. Louis. Going for Vancouver Whitecaps. Win and draw in Columbus. I'm going into Miami to be too good for Al Ahly. I'm going Austin. Win and draw at home against the New York Red Bulls. Chicago Fire. Won for the last 5. Win and draw at home against Nashville and Colorado Rapids. Win and draw at home against Orlando City. 192. On to our Soccer 10, I'm going LA Galaxy, win and draw in St. Louis. Vancouver Whitecaps, win and draw at Columbus and Cincinnati to avoid defeat against the New England Revolution. Into Miami to be too good for Al Ahly and Austin FC, win and draw at home against the New York Red Bulls. On to our second page, I'm going Chicago Fire to avoid defeat against Nashville. Bankering Minnesota United to beat San Diego. Sporting Kansas City win and draw at home against FC Dallas. And Colorado Rapids win and draw against Orlando City. And I'm chancing Real Salt Lake to beat DC United 256. On to the Soccer 13, which is a bit of a licorice all sorts, but we start crack on. I'm going to field in the Umeå versus GIF Sundsvall match. Likewise, Hammarby TFF against IF Karlstad, the field there. 3 bankers going for Norby to beat Eskilsmina, FC Rosengård to beat Luginskil, and Angel Holmes to beat Husqvarna. Going KUPS, win and draw at home against Tampereen Eels, and VPS Vasa to avoid defeat at IFK Maraham. Onto my second page, I'm going Lillestrøm win and draw against Hod. Going for 3 bankers, Kongsvinger to beat Sogndal, France under 21 to beat Georgia, the Portuguese under 21 to beat Poland, and siding with Italy under 21 to avoid defeat against Slovakia, and ending up with Spain under 21 to beat Romania, 256. Now, on to our bets, the Budgies bets for the weekend. Starting off with the World Club. I've gone for a group treble, all these 3 teams to win their group. I'm going for Flamengo, River Plate, and Man City. Worked out at 2,800 to 200. I'm going for a double. I'm going for Inter Miami to beat Al Ahly and Flamengo to reach the semi-final, 2,500 to 200. My team goal sides, I'm going for Inter Miami, Botafogo, Palmeiras and Flamengo, all to score over 1.5 goals, 3,000 to 200. On to the MLS, where I've done a treble, I've gone Philadelphia to beat Charlotte by more than 1 goal. I'm going for Vancouver to win or draw and both teams to score against Columbus. And I think Houston will beat Montreal, 2,400 to 200. Overseas, over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. Yes, sides are New York City, Atlanta, Austin versus the New York Red Bulls, Chicago versus Nashville, and Colorado versus Orlando City, 2,200 to 200. And our Collis King, 6 on X, I couldn't believe the price. I'm going Philadelphia to beat Charlotte, going for Minnesota to beat San Diego, Houston to beat Montreal, Inter Miami to beat Al Ahly, Botafogo to beat Seattle, and Flamengo to beat ES Tunis, 6,200 to 200. Couple of even money, 11 to 10 shots, escalates the price, Paul.
Just before you close, to watch this new Super.
All the games are on, Paul.
On TV.
On our TV,
and
Super
the times?
Sport. The times, Paul, depending. The European games are on at like 8 and 9 o'clock our time. So there's some great games to watch our time, but several of them, obviously the American and Mexican, Brazilian, Argentinian, they'll be 2-0, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So I'll be taping them all, Paul, and watching in the morning, yeah.
All right, should be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Stay on side.